Welcome. This is my channel and I tell stories of the mysterious, twisted, and paranormal. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. And if you are new to the channel, then welcome. And please consider subscribing and turning on your post notifications. But also get ready, because as of now, we're about to go on a journey, and as we do, we're about to slip into a mind that's not our own. So let's go. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard this person's name, but many of you might not have known much more than that. But no worries, that's why I'm here. So today, our story is on the notorious Jimmy Hoffa. As of today, there is only one FBI agent in Detroit that is assigned to the disappearing case of Jimmy Hoffa. But back in the days when he disappeared, there were actually more than 200 agents at the same time that were working on the case. And they tried to look at every skeleton in his closet. They interviewed his friends, his family, his associates. They collected evidence trying to connect the dots. But regardless, no one found out what really happened to Jimmy Hoffa, especially who kidnapped him and where his body was taken. So for generations, his disappearance has baffled many. Now, Jimmy Hoffa was a union leader and was almost seen as a god and a hero by many working Americans. Even during his 20s, he became a significant figure in the International Brotherhood of Teamsters and working on growth and development of the union. And it soon became the largest union by membership in America, counting more than 1.5 million members while he was leader. Now, although he did have the working class on his side, the mafia was definitely not on his friends list. Jimmy was involved in criminal activity since he became a leader of the union and made many enemies throughout the years, and some believe that the mafia itself was responsible for his disappearance. Now, Jimmy was almost immune to persecution during the 50s, but President John F. Kennedy's brother Bobby dedicated several years of his career trying to pin him down. And in the 60s, Bobby Kennedy was on the Senate Select Committee of Improper Activities in the labor and management field as a chief counsel. And then later, he became the Attorney General and grilled Jimmy in the courtroom. Then 2 years later, in 1962, Kennedy finally had a case against Hoffa, and it was extortion of illegal payments, but the case proceedings resulted in a hung jury where the jury was split. However, Jimmy was arrested later for bribing one of the jury members, so he was in fact sentenced to 8 years in prison. Then in 1964, he was found guilty of embezzling $1.7 million from the Union Pensions Fund. And at that time, a lot of his connections helped him stay out of jail until 1967. When he ended up serving 58 months. Now, the rest of his sentence was abolished by President Nixon with one condition in mind, which was that Jimmy had to stay out of the union and politics until the 80s, when his sentence would have ended, and Jimmy agreed. So you could say that this condition was really not taken seriously by Jimmy at all, because he continued to chase his goals and tried to regain his authority in the union politics. And there was a man named Frank Fitzsimmons who at once was his right-hand man, but when he went in prison, he became in the leadership position. And the mob itself did not like Jimmy's maneuvers to take back his former position and warned him several times explicitly, but Jimmy was known to be a very stubborn man. So while Fitzsimmons was easy to manipulate and easy to force to look the other way, Jimmy kind of regained control, and this would be bad for him. Now, fast forwarding to July 30th in 1975, this was the infamous day when Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. So Jimmy received a call that day to meet an important local mobster who was a Detroit labor boss and a powerful person in the Teamsters politics. They were supposed to meet outside Detroit at the Red Fox restaurant, so Jimmy Hoffa arrived first, sat at a table, looked at the menu, and waited. Now, just about a half an hour passed by, and Jimmy at this point was, probably a little suspicious about what's going on because nobody came in. So Jimmy found a payphone and called his wife, and he told her that no one had appeared yet. And then he also told her that he was just going to wait a few more minutes, and then he would come home. So he waited a few more minutes, left the restaurant, and then just like that, was never seen again. Now, there were witnesses who saw him walking to his car with 3 or 4 other men that were inside, and according to the investigation, he did not leave that car alive. The FBI thought that 2 of the men Jimmy was supposed to meet at the restaurant were Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone and Anthony Tony Pro Provenzano. Now, some say that the meeting could have been a peace offering, but when Hoffa didn't agree to their demands, they may have, without warning, executed him. Now, Tony had an alibi, and it was a convenient little story that he was showing around Hoboken to Union officials the day that Hoffa disappeared. Plus, let's be honest, with the amount of people that Jimmy ticked off, the list of suspects was very, very long. And the FBI didn't have a real lead or break in the case because everybody wanted to stay away from it. And at this point, evidence was also limited. And after several months, they were able to track down the car Jimmy was taken with, where they found his hair and blood inside. Now, to be clear, in the car, there was absolutely no sign of his body, and absolutely nobody wanted to discuss it. They even had to hypnotize the witnesses and informants in order to find out the truth, which is crazy and amazing at the same time that they were this loyal or scared of this man. And to be honest, nothing really uncovered the truth about the kidnapping. So the FBI was left like us, just with a bunch of theories. I mean, there were even many convicts who had contacted the police with hints, clues, and theories. And in one instance, Ralph Picardo claimed that Hoffa was put in a 55-gallon drum made of steel, loaded onto a truck. He said he didn't know where they took him or anything like that, but rumor had it that he was buried on the grounds of a toxic waste location near the Brothers Moscato junkyard. And then, according to another theory, Jimmy Hoffa's body lies underneath the New York Giants football stadium in East Rutherford. And his body was apparently mixed in with the concrete at the construction of the stadium. And other burial grounds were also suggested, such as the helideck of the Sheraton Savannah Resort Hotel, and also a public garage that resided in Cadillac, Michigan. Now, that's a lot of theories of where one person could be buried. Now, there is another theory that was received in 2006 when Richard Kuklinski claimed that he killed Hoffa himself with a knife and buried his body in a drum in a junkyard. And according to his confession, the drum was actually dug out by police, and it was near a manufacturing vehicles part where they placed scrap metal, but once again, Jimmy was not found. And a lot of false information led the police to countless digs, but none of them revealed the body of Jimmy Hoffa. So some say he wasn't even murdered, and he fled to Brazil to start a new life. And the case file, containing now more than 16,000 pages, is still open, and new leads are welcome, even though Hoffa was declared legally dead in 1982. Now, like I said at the beginning, this is a person that at one time we've all probably heard their name, but we didn't know much about. So I hope that at least through this, even though you may have known this person, you got a little more context and found out a little more about this situation. And I'm going to say that if I was a betting man, I would say the mob did kill him. and they wanted to make a statement when killing him. So to be honest, the 55-gallon drum made of steel loaded onto a truck makes a lot of sense. And even the New York Giants football stadium concrete theory makes a lot of sense. But to be honest, he could have just been drove to the Hudson River, shot in the head, and then dropped in. We'll never know until we do. At least that's my theory. Now what's yours? Be sure to let me know in the comment section, because I read every comment, and I'm actually very interested to know what you think happened to this very well-known man. Thanks. And thank you for listening to this story. I will be uploading stories 2 to 3 times every week, sometimes with multiple stories in them, so please, if you enjoyed this, just take one moment to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up and share this video with every single person that you know, especially social media. It makes a huge difference. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you next time.